Hi, this is Ryan Dietrich with SharpCFO, joined here with our coach, Mr. Mark Phelps of Action Coach. Mark, it's really great to be able to talk to you here. The conversation we're going to have today is about communication. And with today, the way that things are with the COVID stuff and people wearing masks, and communication is hard anyway, let alone now with how we have to manage talking to people. And so, Mark, if you could introduce yourself a little bit, and we'll get into some of the questions I have. Even before we do that, I will say that Mark is our coach, and we very much value his services for our organization and would urge anybody to reach out to him just as soon as you can after this for any kind of advice. So, Mark, why don't you go ahead and talk about you for a minute?
Well, thanks, Ryan. You introduced me. I'm Mark Phelps with Action Coach. Been certified Action Coach since 2019. Been in the coaching world and in business improvement for the last 10 years. My background is industrial engineering. I've worked for the likes of Conagra Foods in the food and beverage. I've worked for Keurig Green Mountain, the K-Cups that we enjoy every morning. In the beverage industry. The reason I'm in Cleveland is Cleveland Cliffs. Spent a tour of duty up at a mine site there and just have enjoyed getting to know folks and understanding how they want to grow their businesses and understand. As Action Coach, I work with smaller businesses and have worked with many in the local area, and through Action Coach, we're around the globe. And the vision for me is world abundance. And each and every business I work with, we have an opportunity to create an abundance for the individual owner, to create an amazing community and team that encompasses where the business operates, and to just provide exceptional service and opportunities for the clients and the folks in the neighborhood. So glad to be talking here with you today, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And one thing that you ask before every session gets started is, what do you feel like expressing today? Well, Mark, I feel like expressing how frustrating it is to communicate with people today, from both a professional and a personal level. And I'd like to get your take on some of that. So I'm hoping maybe you could define, just from maybe an action coaching perspective, what does communication mean, and how do you suggest communicating maybe before all of this happened? Like, what are the different styles of communication?
Certainly. Yes, communication is key. We define communication as the response you get. True communication is the response you get, which means if you're out talking to someone or interacting with someone and the response you get is not what you would expect, then communication has not occurred. And there's all kinds of ways that miscommunication happens, and we'll talk about some of those. But certainly defining it is, you're communicating when you get the appropriate response. When someone can say back to you, for example, what it is that you've communicated to them. So you're in the drive-through of a restaurant and you communicate what you want to order, and they can repeat that back to you and get it right. That is an example of communication well done. And beyond that, there's ways that we can communicate, and we're all a little bit different, certainly how we go about it, because communication is not all words. It's actually only 7% words. The other areas are, you've got your voice, your tonality, and that 38% of what is heard comes from the tone and the way that a word is spoken or said. And then the rest of it is body language. So 55% of communication is how we hold ourselves, how we present ourselves, how we use our hands, how we use our gesturing, and those sort of things. So especially, and you mentioned today with some of the challenges we've had, I'm assuming you're referring to the fact that we're wearing masks or we're wearing a lot of PPE that we haven't worn in the past.
Right.
Certainly that creates challenges. With a mask on, you can't see the body language in often cases. It muffles the tone. Sometimes we can't even hear the words when there's other environments that we're in. So our emphasis on getting the response that we want to truly communicate has to be heightened, and we have to be much more deliberate in today's times. So what was communicating like prior to today? A lot of things we took for granted, right? We went and we had a conversation with someone, we read them from the moment we spotted them, based on where their body language is at, would tell us that they were in a good mood or not so much a good mood. There's a lot of prejudgments that we might take to this, some right, some wrong, but certainly some of us characteristically are pretty good at picking up on what someone is like, what their mindset is, what their state of mind is prior to ever having them open their mouth.
Step one was I could shake your hand, and I can't do that anymore. I could tell by shaking your hand what your personality is, right? Or how you present your handshake to me says a lot. I can't shake a hand now.
Certainly, a lot of first impressions come through the handshake, right? Is this person confident? Are they sure of themselves? A lot of things can be communicated through that. That's part of our body language. It's the way we come in. Is there respect, or is there a shyness and a retreat once contact is occurred? So very good observation. We can't do that anymore. There were some elbow bumps. That was more a fun way, but less communication occurred. And even that, with social distancing, has died down as we now keep a respectable barrier between us to help prevent coronavirus droplets from getting into each other's space. So certainly, yes, without the handshake, we have to look for the response that we're looking for in other ways. If we're communicating, hey, it's great to meet you, we want to make sure that they're communicating, they're responding back, that is received. So it's really having to put more emphasis on the rest of our body language. Start there, really wear a smile. We talk about how oftentimes at Action Coach, we've talked about when doing phone calls, it's important to smile prior to dialing the phone. Smile, then dial.
Right.
And the reason is because just having that frame of mind on your face changes how you sound and how others perceive you to be on the other side of the line. So certainly just more attention to detail on how we go into a conversation, how we interact with people. And folks, this isn't just for us. As leaders, right? This is about how we communicate to our teams and what we expect them to do in raising the bar in communication. Our expectations today, they need to be much higher. The bar has been raised from 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And it's communication can still be done in a playful, light, and fun manner. There's no reason to get too serious about it, but we want to put emphasis on projecting through all the barriers we've created for ourselves. Heck, right now we're interacting over Zoom, and there are ways to communicate effectively through a screen, and there are ways to do a poor job, and one that doesn't get the response maybe that we're looking for. In sales, we're looking for people to know, like, and trust us. We have to get that across a barrier of space, of a video camera, of recording technology, whatever it might be. We need to make sure that gets communicated.
How do I do that?
Absolutely. For one, what's the response you expect? What is a telltale sign, Ryan, that someone you're communicating with you is listening and you've got their attention?
What is a sign that they're looking? Well, you mean right, as in right now, right? So I know we're listening to each other because our eyes are both pointed at our screens, at our cameras. we're smiling at each other, we're engaged, and we're actively here. I can tell when somebody's not listening to me because their head's down like this and they're checking out their phone. Like, I know what you're doing when your head's down. You're not really paying attention. I know when somebody's paying attention to me because they're looking right here. They're not over there or over there. I know that you're taking it seriously when there aren't weird things in the background of our phone call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all very good things. And certainly you can tell by, are they nodding? Are they going, mm-hmm? Are they engaging with what you're saying? Are they reacting to what you're saying? Communication starts with us. When we check out, who we're communicating with will check out. Again, it's the response we get. Take a leadership role in the communication you do. Make sure all the things you said, Ryan, that tell people that they're not paying attention to you, make sure that we've got a do not do list, and all of those things are a part of that, right?
Right.
Now on the do list, we've got we're in the camera. We're not slunk back or down here. We are in the camera. We're present with the folks that we're chatting with, right? We're looking at their screen more than we're looking at our own screen, which has certainly become a new memeable thing with Zoom and the likes is, hey, I'm going to watch myself because there I am. And who gets to watch yourself all the time when interacting with others? But, if you are watching yourself, be sure to make sure that you're fully present and that message you're emitting across the distance is one that they're connecting with. And watch for their responses. If they disengage, don't continue blabbering on about whatever you're doing. Watch to make sure that what you're saying still has relevance to the listener. And really, the best way to communicate with folks as leaders, as customer service reps, as sales reps, just personally, is be really good listeners. Active listening is more important today than it ever has been, and has already been one of the most important things in communicating that we could do. So as this conversation goes, note the active listening things. And these are the noddings. So what you said was, and repeating back some of the things that have been said, some of the points that have been made, and making sure that there's a dialogue going on, and that you are making it an extra effort so that that person across from you knows that you're paying attention to them, you matter to them, what they're saying is being heard, and that will create more open dialogue and more focus on attention. We can tell when we disengage.
Sure. Absolutely. Now, let's go to a business meeting, a sales call. Let's say I'm sitting here with you, you're a prospect, and I'm sitting across the table with you because now we're allowed to go out and meet at our business locations, and you're wearing a mask. Ordinarily, I could read your body language. I could see your face. I could see when you were smiling. When I'm presenting my material, I could tell how it's hitting you based on your facial reactions to me. Well, if everybody in the room has to wear a mask now, how do I read the room? How can I see, other than looking at your face? You can still see their eyes and if they're wandering, but what can I do now in a room full of people where I can't read their face?
Mm-hmm. Well, as always, at first, I always make sure to suggest and recommend that we look internal first. What can we do to better communicate? Because as we set that precedence, folks may reflect it. They won't always, but let's work on controlling what's within our control first. I walked in to get my hair cut this past weekend, and certainly it was a completely new experience. The second I walked in the door, someone waved at me, right? Because just making eye contact with the shield on and face masks isn't as effective as a physical wave. Definitely got my attention, right? Walked over to them.
That you're welcome in. That's a really great way to do that. By a wave.
Absolutely. Use more body language to your advantage, right? Don't expect that, think people are going to know what to do. I've walked in there 1,000 times and sat down and waited for my stylist to be ready for me. This time she met me. Hey, glad you made it in. Has someone taken your temperature yet? Have they gone through the questionnaire? Immediate response, immediate engagement. And it just started just having a process for them to make sure that they stayed healthy, so that their customers stayed healthy, and so that they would be able to continue being in business, doing smart new things. They also did the extra effort of service to meet me at the door, to wait, to make sure they engage, to get that practice of talking through the mask started. And often my stylist and I, we talk about a lot of things while I'm at the salon. We were able to do so. It just took, we were probably speaking a lot louder than normal with the thing going on and having to speak through the mask. But we were able to continue to engage in conversation. And it just takes a lot of effort on the part to make sure that, hey, look, I'm listening, I'm looking at you, I'm uh-huhs are not going to be heard. So there's more nodding, or if you can't nod, then there's, I gotcha, right? So certainly it's about bringing the effort into it. And then when we're interacting with someone for a business transaction or something of that, as a customer service representative, it's making sure, holding them to getting their job right. It's important that they communicate. And sometimes when we're talking to a person over a microphone, getting an order, they're mumbling, or they're not being completely coherent. And it's just being sure to take charge and request that, here's what I need. I would like to do this. Can you please repeat back to me so that we've communicated? Sometimes it's just asking, right? From a leadership point of view, it's about starting first and then setting the expectations. Hey, be very clear with your team that, we want to be doing the waving. We want to find new processes and standards to put in place that engages and that gets that response we're looking for. And then out socially, it's just be a little more, less robotic. Be a little more personable and moving, because like you said, with voice muffled, with words toned down, and really with a lot of the facial expressions covered up, we just need to be a little more exaggerated and a little more asking of, what's the response I'm getting? And if it's not the right one, to really tone it up, or just to be very clear. Look, here's what I'm meaning. Being a little more articulate and a little less vague in how we choose our words at times.
I think that's really, you kind of beat me too with the leadership part of it, because as leaders of our organizations, we can often miscommunicate anyway, and things can be taken out of context with our staff, with our customers, and with our vendors. And how can we communicate when maybe we don't agree with the new social norms, but for maybe liability purposes, our staff all has to wear masks and take temperatures now. Maybe I don't believe in that, but we have to. How can we effectively communicate to our people that it's what we have to do, even if you don't like it?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, because there's a lot of folks that these changes spark a lot of frustration and resistance in coming through. And certainly anytime we want someone to change, it's important that they understand the why behind the change. And as leaders, we need to, one, not ask them to do something that we are not doing. We need to lead by example. And the other thing is, we need to recognize that these are individual human beings that have challenges, that have stresses, that have things. So it's very important to keep that understanding and that empathetic level active and open when we're dealing with folks. Because we can ask them to obey the rules in a stern approach, and like, look, we're all human beings here. We need to be looking out for each other. I want you to be safe. This is your safety that we're talking about. Is it necessary? Is there a law that says that has to be done? Maybe not, but we want to go above and beyond for your benefit, for our customers' benefit, and it's just the way that we're going to operate from now on. Just being very clear about kind of the why behind it and where we're trying to get to. And if there's any concerns, if there's discomfort, or if there's getting access to the equipment to wear, to just be very open about solving what those are and listening to what the concerns with it are. We'll get a lot more ground if we listen. And say, okay,
always by listening. And that's one of the great things here is that, we still have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and the ears aren't covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing that
Maybe it's a sign.
What's that?
Maybe it's a sign.
Right? Maybe. Could be. One thing that you ask after every coaching session is, what's your biggest takeaway from this? I would say that I personally would take away that when I walk into a room full of people, instead of shaking their hand now, let's wave at them. It's a great idea. The wave. Let's all perfect the wave, right? It could be a cool wave like this, like a 2-hand wave, or like the gun point, or whatever you're going to do, right? Come up with a new way to greet people, make them feel welcome, make them feel like you're there to listen, and just things have changed now, right? It's a whole new world of communicating. So thank you very much for joining us for this here. We're going to have many, many more conversations with Mark. So everybody check out both of our YouTube channels and social media, and we'll be sure to educate as much as we can about communication and many other coachable things. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Ryan. It was a pleasure, and just looking forward to all the opportunities that are opening up in front of us now. So be sure to take action, folks. It will be better if we're in hard times, and it will continue to be good if we're in good times.
Very good. Thank you, Mark.